Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love and support you guys extend my way. I'm very humble and very much in debt with everybody. From the heart, thank you. Also, if you do understand most of all the message I'm trying to put out, right? Or in like the message, please do like, share, and just support the channel, which overall is the message. Thank you. Well, to get right into it, right? Today I want to continue off with my story a little bit. You guys know I would have been done with it a long time ago, and I don't know if people would take it as bad, right? But I have this complex in myself where I try to be very respectful, right, in everything I do, especially when I don't get disrespected a lot. Even if people disagree with me, it's not in a disrespectful way they come at me, right? Which I appreciate that because I would never disrespect and be a cell soldier, or whatever. But anyways, I try to be respectful, so I try not to stay on a topic for more than an episode or two to get a knowing on you guys. Nevertheless, to continue off again, we got out and we had to stay in the shadows per se, right in Culiacan for a while. All the Billies, when it came to Chango Mono and Richie and they eventually took off with Tweety. They went into Mexicali to allow things to cool down, and well, basically five camaradas we stayed behind, right? Me, cause it's where my family's at, right? It ain't like I could go nowhere and it being cool, to be sincere, especially once your name and whatever you're doing start getting around, right? Mexico, believe me, ain't a big world. Nevertheless, we stayed behind and we're to support the families. At the moment, the only war that it was coming to an end, right? Was with the Beltranes. But they branched out of Jalisco, right? Of Jalisco, excuse me, Sinaloa, and wanted to start doing their own thing, right? They didn't consider themselves Sinaloa no more. So nevertheless, we were to support and whatever came up around Culiacan, right? And were torpedoes, even though it's 10 times more wild than what we tend to live in California. Believe me, we're known out here to be about war, right? Just for some reason they have us in that stage or pedestal that we're knuckleheads, right? That we take care of business. A lot of people don't like it though, that's where the hate comes towards us. Nevertheless, on this one I want to talk about two camaradas, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to put a message with this one. This one's more so about two firme camaradas I met and how they were forgotten, right? And A lot of people, camaradas in Cali or whatever, might see it. We're in Mexico. It's not part of what we do, but we're following orders under our guidelines, believe me. So they fell, and in a sad way, per se, right? First, I want to talk about, German from, oh, what neighborhood was this in Orange County? Excuse me, I remember the neighborhood. He was from Garden Grove, though, right? There's a lot of homies from Garden Grove out here. A lot more than Santana. Let's just say that, right? And Piojo, the homie Piojo was he had a twin brother, right? And he was a small camarada, right? But he was down with it. Believe me, he had a lot of heart. He was like myself, from Northern California, San Jose to be specific, right? And myself and two other camaradas. It came a time where politics started playing out in Culiacan amongst each other and against each other, right? So we asked directions for which familias we stood 10 toes with. So we got told and which familias, and more so they were open game, right? What I mean by open game is we started being sent to different neighborhoods, right? Neighborhoods, towns in Culiacan. And I want to talk about specifically Mocorito, right? But to make sense of it, basically we went in a town that had already been studied, and we would go in and hit. Like literally, no buts or ifs, no discussions, no investigations. Government's hot out here. There was no need for it no more. By this time, we're well known with government out in Sinaloa, right? Camaradas were. So, like I said before, they associated us straight to El Chapo, even though most of the time we weren't working for him, right? Nevertheless, what we were doing is slowing them down. Again, familias were cool. So amongst they will get all the 411. For example, shipments coming in. They was going to get there to Culiacan. It would eventually get sent to different laboratorios and get done what it needed to get done, and then eventually will pedal to the states or whatever it needed to go, right? There was a trust there, and it's where the backstabbing started becoming amongst them, right? They wanted us to take them out from circulation, right? So that their material is the one that was getting out there more. It wasn't necessarily they wanted to clip these individuals, right? Because all familias out here, they one way or another, they have a clean avenue to receive whatever they need, right? But again, the faction that was sending us out there to do these things was the one that usually we get accused being under, right? And he wanted their stuff, point blank. He didn't want us asking questions. There was no need for it, right? Even to play games as, oh, we're for example, los Zetas or trying to throw the ball, they wanted not a ball to even be in the circulation, if you guys get it. Basically, when us five went in, right, it was to lay them down and take everything and go turn it into wherever and get rid of whoever was there. Our orders were simple, right? Get there. If anybody tries to go, but that's where he has to lay him. We have to lay him down. Period. Unfortunately, there was a lot of people that maybe were there on their mistakes, but again, we're just followers. We do things to open doors. We do things that we think it was according to our guidelines in their world. It would definitely hurt, right? And I've seen it a few times where if that happens, the pilis that we answer to out here will give us our south siding. But it's nothing like the States, right? Regulation, workout, even getting whacked and patching yourself up. Nah, you were gonna get chopped because they want to look good in the familia's eyes, right? And we were clear on it. We ever had a few meetings on this, where it got up that it wasn't our way of discipline, right? Specifically when a camarada is doing what he's told and he's not basura, right? But the pilis were real clear that we were out here. It's just the rules and guidelines of engagement out here. So we have to be careful with it, right? So, anyways, we did like 4 or 5 of these. When I speak about German, most of all, is the homie grew up his whole life in OC, right? But he had a knack of like an compass within him, right? Sometimes we would, to be sincere, things would not go 100%. We couldn't take the material, but we would burn it, right? So we couldn't take it. They weren't gonna keep it, type of thing. And well, we couldn't complete the mission that we were supposed to, right? I'll just leave it at that. And we had to split ASAP, you know, or we were gonna lose bad. Because again, a lot of the people were laying down. Government always plays a big part, right? Nevertheless, we would be lost sometimes at night, out in the woods and stuff, And homeboy was had something in him that, hey, por acá, let's take this route. We literally just go up mountains, no trails, nothing, and we would come out. You know, he wouldn't know exactly where we would come out, but we would come out to a civilization where we could eventually punch, right? And to me, it was always a give, right? Cause me, I'm probably like a hog, right? I run straight, and keep going straight. And some I know it ain't good, cause sometimes if it could lead you to get lost, especially in the Madre Sierra, right? So I'll talk about Mocoritos, right? To get to the point. Again, this faction send the sand for it was a camion. It was gonna have a lot of verde mostly, but it was gonna have a couple of them ladrillos of refresco seco, and six vatos were supposed to be guarding that, right? And we were to pull up, dispatch, and take, right? And it just, we pulled up, and it just wasn't like that. You know, familias ain't dumb after it gets done a few times, especially back to back, the way we were doing it, right? Waited a month and a half. Excuse me. I'm telling you, we did six, seven of them, and most so they were waiting on us. You know, we engaged as best as could, but there was just no engaging there, right? So we backpedaled and grabbed the hills, right, in Cerro, and just took off. But again, they were waiting, right? And the reason they sent us the most was because, again, we were hired guns. We were pointers for all families. So even if one of us fell there while we're pulling things, it wasn't going to track, you know, to a specific family doing the thing specifically, right? Everybody could still play the dummy card because we were just opening doors and just offering our services, right? As a whole. It ain't because we were bad at what we were doing or whatever. It was because, everybody knows everybody. For example, this familia knows the people working under this familia. But when you got some that don't really belong here, there, or anywhere, we just go where we're hired and where there's gonna be a gang for us, right? Anyways, I don't want to lose track. Going uphill, the homie Piojo and German, they got caught. But not like caught like in that way, right? It was basically a big dish. This dish, I don't know how you say it, up in the mountain, and we took off the other way. I'll be honest, when we went uphill, I always told everyone, hey, cada quien agarre su esquina, get your corner and punch. Solo bolo. Don't stay in grooves, but just keeping it a bug. It's not because I'm this, and that, but I didn't fear the mountain, the cerro, right? The hills, and being out there solo. But you could tell a lot of camaradas, they didn't like that aspect, right? So they maintained together. And, anyways, they caught him. I'm not going to get into details. They caught him, they took him back, and they did extras. Us camaradas were known to have our skin with artwork. I'm just gonna say they took their whole artwork off and then left them somewhere as a notice of this was gonna happen if you keep doing it right type of thing. Trying to put fear into what in reality had no sense in nothing, cause you get used to not running or even allowing fear to inflict your actions in that to go. But German more so, right? He had homeboys, homegirls that he was in touch with his neighborhood that used to take care of him tough, right? With feria, packages, whatever you may think. And a lot of people ask for him. For those that might hear this, that new German, Herman Gomez, Garden Grove, excuse me on the neighborhood, but that's what basically happened, trying to please these individuals down here. Again, we wouldn't win anything. Look at the prices of an Alcon weekly, that's what we will get from the Pilis. But we were literally out there almost every day trying to do good for the Pilis in the sense of getting prices, opening doors, to tap into avenues for them to get their material in the States and make feria. Again, we're soldados, and I understand that. But more so, if you guys see it as an whole, all around prisons in the States, here in Mexico, other states, you know, to say we're pawns is belittling what's happening with us. Let's just be sincere. But anyways, my respects for Piojo or Jose Antonio Martinez San Jose and German. Again, I already put out his full name. They fell in the Sierra of Mocorito, Sinaloa, and there's no need to get into what happened afterwards, right? But for those that know the aftermath of things like that in Mexico, especially for trying to set them down and handicap them to move material. That's what all we were doing. You know what happened to them for them to prove a point or try to pump fear, right? And this goes back to Azul, little man, his homies that are out here in Mexico with no more home, with no more family, just forgotten. So I thought I would dedicate an episode to these two camaradas, right? And hopefully, if somebody that needs to hear it, to have some peace in their heart. At the end of the day, when you come to Mexico and you do what you do, it really applies. You know what you're signing up for. The homies were down, right? But let's not take the finger off. We just don't get nowhere. And we all know the reason. So, again, do your thing. Stay smart. Stay loyal to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. Make something. Not stop being something for something that it's a misled lie. Buenas noches, everyone.